All right, let's get going. Welcome everyone to our third town hall, and hopefully the first two have been informational for you and you've gotten a lot out of them as we prepare for next year. We have many topics tonight. A lot of them are pretty small, just informational as we prepare for this year, but nonetheless just as important. I can foresee that maybe tonight's meeting won't last quite an hour like we usually take, but we'll see. We'll go through our topics tonight and then answer questions that we can through the chat. Before we get going, I just want to go around the screen in front of you and just have the folks introduce themselves and what their position is in the district. So first of all, Miriam, can we start with you?
Good evening. My name is Miriam Aurelius Mickelson. I am the Executive Director of Teaching and Learning here in the district.
Thanks, Miriam. Sean. Sean, you're on mute.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Sean Stevenson. I'm the Executive Director of Academic Services.
Ralph.
Good evening. I'm Ralph Rohr. I'm an Executive Director of Operations, which basically means all things facilities.
Thanks, Ralph. Sarah. Oh, I just got from Sarah. Dr. Sarah Wolverton said she has no audio at this time. We'll get through that, but
all good.
There we go, Sarah.
Thanks. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead and finish your introduction and what position you have, Sarah.
Certainly. Apologize for the tech problem. I'm Sarah Wolverton. I'm Executive Director of Special Services.
Thank you very much. Well, let's get rolling tonight and into our first topic. So first topic is really right around preparing for school. And our first one, as we talk about getting ready to be online, our family education series. Miriam, you want to get us up to speed on that?
Yes. The Family Education Series is a series of trainings or workshops intended to help families better support their students in an online learning setting. Various topics will be covered, including Canvas and Seesaw orientation. That's our learning management system, Canvas and Seesaw. Parent tips to maximize student Zoom experience, curricular resources that we use, social, emotional, and behavior, academic support, ELL, and migrant family nights. We kicked off our family education series this week with Seesaw and Canvas orientation. If you missed both, not to worry, we will repeat these sessions next week on Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday for Seesaw for K-3 students and Canvas on Thursday for K-12. The sessions this week were recorded and videotaped and posted on our district website under Reopening and Family Education. So please go to the district's website again under Family Education for dates, Zoom links, and more specific information. We videotape all of our family education workshops. We post them on the district's Family Education YouTube channel for future reference, or if you're not able to attend the live sessions. So we are here to support you and your students, and it is our pleasure to offer workshops and trainings that you might find helpful. Any questions that you might have, please send them to reopening@sno.wednet.edu. Again, reopening@sno.wednet.edu. Back to you, Kent.
Thanks, Miriam. I appreciate that. Yes, as we go on to this, we know we're going to the remote. It's important that our families have all the tips and support that they need to help their students. And I know that those are some good resources. Next, we're going to go to tech and resource distribution. Sean.
Thank you. Our schools have been working hard getting ready to get everything out to students that they need to be successful to start the year. The materials and technology disbursement will happen next week on September 8th through 10th. Each school is going to be sending families the actual schedule and process for the distribution. This is going to include the textbooks, the materials, and technology. Specifically for technology, requests that have been previously made and entered through the survey for laptops and hotspots will be available at the individual schools at the scheduled pickup times that you have. If you weren't able to enter that, that's okay. You can show up and a laptop will be available if you need it when you arrive. They're just going to have you process that. And this year, we are doing an opt-out in terms of the support on that. And there'll be more information about the paperwork and those pieces when you go. But every person who shows up who wants a laptop can get it on site. For those families who do not have any internet access that were not able to previously request a hotspot, you will be able to do that during the welcome start next week when you arrive. Thank you, Kent. Back to you.
All right. What we're doing a little different, we added our safety component. Although we're not coming back in person totally, we have a few students coming back. We are preparing for the future, and we are doing some things around safety. Ralph Rohr, who's the head of our facilities, is also heading up our safety and has for the last few years and has taken on this big role as we go through the COVID. And I just want to turn it over to Ralph as he talks about how we're moving ahead with safety precautions in our district. Ralph?
Thanks, Kent. I'm going to briefly talk about 4 topics tonight relative to preparing for students coming back into the building and also having preparations done for our staff who are coming back. And the first topic I'm going to refer to is what we call a COVID-19 supervisor. And this individual is a school-based, selected by the administration, supervisor who has effectively 3 key functions. Number 1 is to track the personal protection equipment, the supplies that we provide to keep people safe during this time, and to request more when they run short or run down. The second responsibility is to monitor or observe compliances in the building with our safe practices for staying healthy. And the third task is coordination with the Snohomish County Health District when they have issues that they want to talk to us about, whether it be contact tracing or other topics associated with that. The second issue is health and safety supplies. We have been working on this inventory we currently have since February. And sometimes things were quite short supply to find, and other times we've got good supply. And the good news is in the summer, a lot of the things we wanted to have were quite accessible. And these things include items like face coverings, gloves, touchless scan thermometers, disinfecting wipes, disinfecting chemicals, and specialty equipment for disinfection. We feel very good about our current inventory that when students do come back, we will have good supply to get us to the end of the year. The third item has to do with cleaning, and we have rewritten our protocols for our custodians to put disinfection at the top of our priority list. So these were rewritten about 6 weeks ago, and we've been in training and reviewing these with our custodians so that they're prepared for day one when staff is on board, and then eventually when students come back. We know how we need to disinfect. That is in concert with the health recommendations we received in the guidance. The fourth item, which is something that's becoming more talked about in the public area, is the issue of ventilation in our buildings. And we've been working effectively all summer long on this issue. And it really boils down to 2 key things. The first thing is filtration. And then the second thing is actually fresh air supply into the buildings. So at the recommendation of industry experts, we are in the process of going through all of our facilities and putting in a higher filter in our HVAC units so that we comply with best practices for filtration. And secondly is the issue of fresh air supply. And all of the experts are saying to us, the more fresh air in the rooms, the better off your indoor air quality condition is. So we've been moving in a couple of directions with this. The first item is to reset all of our HVAC equipment to maximize the amount of fresh air that comes into our building. And so that's been done. The second part of that has to do with then flushing out the building at night after people have been in the building. And we have already reprogrammed our systems to be able to do that at night. So then when folks come in the morning, fresh air is what they'll find in their spaces. The next issue has to do with utilizing our windows. Obviously, this is a weather dependent item. As it's cooler, probably can't open the windows as much, but again, we're recommending that people start opening windows and using the fresh air outside. Lastly, we are looking at some enhancements to some of the older schools that need system replacements in order to be able to maximize fresh air. And so that work will be starting shortly and finished prior to students being in the building. So that's a quick overview of some of the things we've been working on in facilities. And back to you, Kent. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Ralph. Now we're going to go into our welcoming start, what to expect on the first few days, what your kids, what our children are going to see as they come into the classrooms, just some things that are going on. And so we're going to get to that. I want Sean to go ahead and explain what do we expect on September 9th, 10th, and 11th, that first 3 days of school.
Thank you. As I had mentioned earlier, we will be continuing material and technology disbursement on the September 9th and 10th. Schools will be able to provide the resources and technology to all students by the 10th. In addition, individual schools are planning activities for the 9th and 10th for new students, as well as to make connections with both new and returning students. The individual plans and schedules for the schools will be sent to families so you know what to expect. On September 11th, all students will have an opportunity to log into their teacher's Zoom and have time together. At the secondary level, this will be following the published PGF schedule. At the elementary level, specific times and expectation for the 11th will be communicated by individual schools. It will not be the 3 hours of complete instruction in the morning. The individual times and setup for the 11th will be communicated shortly. Thank you, Kent.
All right. One thing that we really have heard from our public is the only thing we have to compare remote learning with is last spring. And we've said over and over again that last spring was something else where we really were going to do no harm and to gauge our students. Starting this fall, we're really teaching and learning and getting into the real core and the standards of teaching. And so that's going to be a different step for us and a different step for kids. But I think it's going to be a great step, especially when it comes to learning from home and the expectations for that. So with that, I really want Miriam to talk about the learning experience and what we expect out of the remote learning. So Miriam, talk about a little bit about the learning experience.
Yeah, as you had mentioned, Kent, the learning experience this year is going to look different from the learning experience in the spring when schools closed due to COVID. One of the main differences is that we are structuring the day so there is live instruction that happens every morning around essential standards. And there is allocated time for office hours, small group instruction, and asynchronous specialist lessons, music, PE, and library for the rest of the day. During live instruction, our teachers will be providing instruction around the essential standards that is adapted to an online setting. So it is our goal not to expect parents and families and guardians to shoulder the responsibility of instructing students this year. Our teachers, just like their counterparts across the country, they have much to learn about online learning. This is new territory for all of us, but they are committed to providing high quality instruction to all their students as best as they can. So the role of families in online learning is not to teach or instruct their students. Rather, it is to partner with us by cheering your students on, helping them log on to classes, although that can be a little tricky, motivating your students to attend and participate meaningfully in classes, connecting with your students' teachers if you have any questions or concerns. We will instruct and teach your students. That is our job. And we would appreciate your partnership and support. But again, parents and families are not expected to sit down with students for 2 or 3 hours in the morning during live instruction and do direct instruction for their students. Back to you, Kent.
Mary, why don't you go right into grading since that hits right with that?
Yeah, so in the spring, we significantly changed our grading practice per the state and in response to the school closure and the pandemic. If you recall, our grading system in the spring was A, B, or I. Well, this year, the grading scale will be the same as in years past, A, B, C, D, or F. However, our goal is not to be punitive with grading. We are still in the midst of a pandemic. And while we want our students to continue their learning, even as we navigate this global health crisis, we do understand that the pandemic does have an impact on all our students. So we are going to do our very best to have students' family situations not be an impediment to learning or negatively impact student grades. More specifics on grading will be coming from your student, school, or teachers.
All right. Well, along with grading, let's talk about attendance. I'll let Sean talk a little bit about attendance.
Sure, thank you. This year, attendance is going to be taken during the live instructional block in the mornings. A student will be marked present in Skyward if the teacher sees or interacts with a student at any time during the live instructional block. So they will be marked absent then if they aren't seen or interacted with during that live instructional block. Students are expected to attend the live morning instructional aspect. For students who show patterns of missing the morning live instruction, school teams will work with families to identify possible supports and solutions to increase engagement and attention in that morning block. School teams will also identify and communicate with students who demonstrate patterns of non-attendance in either the morning or afternoon blocks.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop a little bit here with where we were with topics. I see we have just a couple of questions and I want to get more people involved here. Sarah, there's a question out there about special education and the communication with folks and where their kids are at. You want to touch base a little bit on that?
Certainly. We have been furiously reviewing files. We've identified at this point just over 200 students who have IEPs, who have a pretty significant need for assistance, who will be coming into the district either 1 or 2 mornings a week. We looked at students with particular needs first, then we looked at the files of students whose parents asked us to review them, and then we went back to the data to make sure we hadn't missed any students simply because their data didn't line up. And on the basis of that, we contacted the families of all of the students who appeared to need the services, and the list changes daily as parents start calling in and saying, yes, I do want the service. So we're prepared as of the 14th to begin educating approximately 150 some students in person. And then on the 21st, we're going to get about close to 50 preschoolers starting. So we're pretty excited about this.
Thanks, Sarah. Sean, there's another question about high school 0 hour. You got any comments on how 0 hour band and music will be handled?
Yes, 0 hour communication will come directly from the schools. It depended on the particular class in terms of where they fit it in, either prior to the 8:30 start or at the end of the 3:30 completion. So that individual communication will come directly from schools, but it will be on one side or the other of the instructional day.
All right. Miriam, what about kindergarten? We know that they've always started a few days later in typical years. What's the plan for kindergarten this year?
Yes, you are right, Kent. Historically, our kindergarten students start a few days later than the rest of the school to give our kindergarten teachers time to connect with and meet with their new students and families. So in keeping with this practice, our kindergarten students will officially start on Wednesday, September 16th. That means that they will follow the daily instructional schedule on that day, September 16th. From September 9th through the 15th, teachers will meet with families and students to begin to build those relationships and share important information about kindergarten. This is an exciting time for students and families, an important milestone for students, and the time built in for connections at the beginning, the first 5 days, will greatly help set our students up for success.
Thanks, Miriam. As a question that's coming up is when will we get back in person? And I'll be honest, I don't know. But I want you to hear through all of these comments, whether it's Ralph and safety or special education or developmental preschool, that we have kids coming back right now, and our safety protocols really look into the future of the time when we can bring people back, our students back. I do want you to know that we're planning for that, and I'm going to talk a little bit later as we move on. But as far as the exact date, that's still up in the air as COVID moves across our region or tries to leave our region, or we're practicing and doing the right things. But yeah, we're really working hard on our end to make sure that we're ready for when that happens. So now what I'd really like to talk about is a few bigger things that really are in partnership with you and as we move into this school year. First of all, I want to talk about the Helpline. The Helpline is a phone line that we're going to have for all of our parents who have questions and all of our families who have questions about the remote learning. And this is more on the computer side, you know, how do I log in, or I can't get logged in, or something's wrong with Zoom. I don't know where the sound button is, and just some basic things. And although I just ran off a couple of real basic things, they can be big things and frustrating. And we know that there will be questions, especially in the first couple of weeks of school, as we just get up and get used to the new programs, whether it's Seesaw or Canvas or Zoom or logging in or all the things that happen when your child opens that computer. So what we're doing is we're setting up a helpline, and we're setting up a pretty robust helpline that'll answer your calls and give you a friendly voice on the other end that'll help you walk through some of these issues. This service is going to be offered both in English and in Spanish. So our Spanish-speaking families can get on, hit the right button, and get to hear it in that language. We know that the first couple of weeks there'll be a lot of calls and a lot of time from our students and families. So what we're going to do from the 9th of September to the 25th of September, for those first 2.5 weeks, the helpline is going to be open from 7:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night. That way, during that period, you can call and get that friendly voice. We've got it set up at the school that if one line is busy, it'll go to another line, go to another line, go to another line, and hopefully you'll be able to really get in there and hear that voice right away and not be put on hold. That's our hope. So from the 9th to the 25th, that line will be open for that. After the 25th, okay, the helpline will be open during school hours. Okay, so for the first 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, that special time, and then after that, it'll be open during school hours. One last thing before I get on is I want to really make sure this is known. During those 2.5 weeks, it's Monday through Thursday that are from 7:30 to 7:30. Friday's going to be shorter. Friday's going to be 7:30 to 11:30, which is the school day. So know that those hours are there. They'll be posted on our website along with the phone number that you call, and the number is 360-563-3000. That number's on our website. It'll be out. You'll be able to call it, but we hope that this is a good resource for you in the first couple of weeks as you get used to those resources that you have in front of you. The next thing that I want to talk about are meals. This has changed as we speak, and maybe you've heard it this week of what happened. We had set up meals, and they were supposed to go back to what we call our normal or traditional times, where you would have to pay and kids' account would be go against their account and things like that. The USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, the federal department that really runs our food program, came up this week and said, hey, we're going to allow all school districts to offer free meals for all kids 0 to 18. Okay, so this opens it wide up again, just like it was in the spring. So we don't have to worry about the age of the kid. We don't have to worry about whether they're free and reduced or not, or paid or not. Everybody gets a meal. And that's important as we move forward and through this situation. So how are we going to get these meals out? The school district at this point is going to deliver meals at 17 different locations. All elementary schools, Snohomish High School, Valley View Middle School, the Aquatic Center, the Boys and Girls Club, Circle H Mobile Home Park, Three Rivers Mobile Home Park, and the Snohomish Mobile Home Park. All this is going to happen between about 11:30 and 1, but here's a key. They're not going to be at each one of these sites for that whole time. They're going to be at those sites for a specific time between 11:30 and 1, and that time for those locations will be on our website. But then again, but please know that all our meals will be free, and when we do hand out the meals, we'll be giving out breakfast and lunch for those meals. The last thing, as always, there's always a catch to it when we deal with the federal government. This program ends, as we know right now, December 31st. So we're going to take advantage of it till then. We're going to hope that when it gets closer to December, that it gets extended. But right now, that's great news for our kids and our families for those free meals. Again, 17 sites, both breakfast and lunch will be handed out at the same time during that 11:30 to 1 time slot. Go to the website to find out what the exact time is for those locations. I also want to talk to you as we come through this is the Snohomish Health Department. And this really gets into when we talk about when are we going to come back to school. I'm really going to be honest at this situation as we talk about this, because we know a few weeks ago, both the governor and the health district shared that students could start to return to school when the transmissions rates drop below 75 per 100,000. And that trajectory would be in the correct direction, in other words, on the downhill side. Well, as most of you know, we're below 75. And so we're getting a lot of questions. Are we ready to come back? Well, as a district, we're still working with the Snohomish Health Department and looking for their guidance as they come back. One of the things that's in our conversation is we don't want to start bringing back kids back too soon and then have something happen and we have to go back to remote. We don't want to have that back and forth and to interrupt education once we get a smooth routine going. We want to know when we come back, we have the best chance to stay back. And so we're working with the Snohomish Health Department and in constant communication to see when that time is. Our numbers are still dropping and they're dropping pretty good. I think it's because us as a community are doing all the right things, whether it's wearing a mask, staying to our family groups, not going out as much as we would like. And this is helping drop our numbers. At Snohomish schools, we're looking at the very earliest that we can when it's safe to bring back your kids, when we can start that hybrid back up again. Know this also that in talks that when we do this, it'll be starting with the youngest first, which is the preschool, the kindergarten, the first grade, and we'll work our way up as the safety continues and bringing kids back. I, as superintendent, the leaders you see on the screen and the teachers want your kids back desperately to really build those relationships and really maximize the education that we can have with them. But no, we're working with the county health department and we'll bring them back as soon as we can. From that, I would like to just see if there's any other questions that we can have. I'm looking here to see what's coming in. I see quite a few questions about attendance, and Sean, I'm going to have you go back over attendance a little bit. Will attendance records be kept in Skyward? Will absent students be communicated with? That's a big one. Let's just do a recap and walk through that again, Sean, if you can.
Sure. So in terms of whether attendance will be kept in Skyward, the answer to that is yes. There will be an input and it will be accessible to families to see what attendance has been taken. There's going to be a variety of forms of communication around attendance, both from schools reaching out to families to communicate that, as well as we're still working on how to work with the daily communication that goes out. As many of you know, in the past, you'd receive a phone call if your student was marked absent. We're still working on those processes and how it relates to this. In terms of the morning and afternoon blocks, as I had mentioned, we will be taking attendance during the live morning session. We are going to be communicating with families, both from the teacher level and building level, if students aren't showing up for scheduled afternoon sessions. And so if a teacher has scheduled a student for a small group or asked them to come to office hours and they're consistently not making that, there will be a communication around that. Kent, does that answer most of them?
I think so. What about high school counselors? When and are they available?
Our high school staff and counselors are back in the building. You can reach out directly to your counselor, or if a counselor has changed or you're not sure who that is, you can reach out directly to the school and they will get you in touch with the appropriate counselor to work on questions. If you have questions about either schedules or classes, that is the best and easiest route to reach them. You can also use the emails that are posted. But again, if you don't have that information, you can go directly to the school and they will get you in touch with them through phone or email.
We're also having lots of questions about school pictures and photos and ASB cards, all those things that start up at the beginning of the year. Sean and Miriam, please jump in on this, but I want to say contact your schools. Your schools are open, and let me be real clear on this, open to take your phone calls and your emails. They're there to answer you. They're not physically open. So don't drive to your school, go open the door because they're locked. But there's people there to answer the phones. They're answering your emails. Just contact them about any of these questions about those typical first part of school things that we do every year, photos and ASB cards. Is that, Sean, Miriam, is that about where we are with that?
Yes.
Another thing that's coming across is what will music and PE look like? And let's hit both elementary and secondary.
So first, at the elementary level, our specialists, as indicated in the published schedules, will have specialist blocks 3 times a week where students can access either music, PE, and library. At the secondary level, teachers have been really working very hard to make modifications to courses that have typically been more hands-on and were difficult to offer in an online setting. And so many of those courses will have adjustments made to them so they can access them through the online or remote learning that we're starting in. And so your teachers are going to be in contact with you or in contact with kids during this first week as we set that up to what that's going to look like. But the courses that are offered are going to be offered in remote if they're still scheduled and students are enrolled in them and they're on their classes, which were made available today.
Okay, I want to let you know as you see me looking down all the time, I got to mention these two people that are behind the scenes, and I don't want to mention it in the first town hall, but Kristen Foley, our public information officers, reading all of these, and she's texting me all the questions, and so that's why I'm looking down to read the questions. But thank you to Kristen, working hard behind the scenes to give me those questions. Also, Kim Raddick, the executive assistant, is the one running the technology behind this, and so both those need to be recognized for the work that they're doing. Miriam, I just want to talk a little bit because I know there's a lot of questions about content and education. We said teachers are teaching, but what about the content? Can they expect the same thing online as they did when they were in the school building? A little technology. Yeah, she's having some audio. Let's go on to something else while she figures out the audios. I hear a lot of questions about meals. Here's what we know about meals, and we'll get more information. All kids 0 through 18 can pick up a meal. Also, parents and families can pick up meals for their kids also. So what it looked like in the spring is what it looks like here in the fall. And I'm hoping I'm hitting on those questions. If not, get the questions to us through our website or emails, and we get those answered. The meals are pretty wide open for how we can serve them to our kids. We don't want to have any glitches or obstacles or miscommunication that may hinder us from getting those meals out. But again, the meals are everyone 0 to 18, and parents and family members can pick up meals for their kids.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, Miriam. Talk about the educational content.
Yes, our families and students certainly can expect and should expect high quality instruction from us this school year in terms of content and standards. The difference this school year would be we are going to really focus on the essential standards. In a regular school year, we have more time to go over a good number of the standards for any content area. We have to be very strategic this year about what essential standard to focus on, given that we have a limited amount of time with our students and the learning that happens. It's done remotely. So there's going to be strategic focus on essential standards that will help our students be more fully prepared for the next grade level. We are not going to be able to teach all of the standards. Focus on the essentials and a few supporting standards. There will be plenty of frequent review of those standards just to make sure that the learning is there. So it's going to be depth versus breadth this year.
Thank you very much, Miriam. One last thing about the meals, and it's true, the USDA just made this announcement just a few days ago, and we will get more details. I'll let you know as more details come out. In summary, as we take a look at this, I'd like you to thank you for staying engaged, providing feedback, and sharing your concerns. All of your input through all these townhouses and the committees we've had and your emails, everything really has put us where we are today and is valuable for us as we move on. We're almost done. I mean, September 9th is here and is gonna be here. But just because we're here doesn't mean it's over. We're still listening, we're reflecting, and we're adjusting. And that's probably one of the main thing that I really want to let you know is that what it looks like on day 1 may not be what it looks like on day 10. We're going to try things and we have to adjust. We're going to adjust. We're going to be really reflective of how things are going and moving along. Now, does that mean we're automatically changing just because of some stuff? No, but it does mean that when things pop up, we've got to address those things that pop up and change and adjust as we move on. We also know that there's going to be some frustrations, and I really want to talk about this. The daily challenges, such as internet connectivity, Zoom frustrations, Canvas and Seesaw questions. To meet those challenges, we must all work together. Staff are receiving training, teachers' compassion and grace, and parent understanding is all going to have to come together as we work through these. And I ask that you please do that. I also ask that as we get closer to school, our principals are back in the buildings, our teachers are back. Start relying on them for that information as we move forward. There's a question here is when are we going to find out when our teachers, what our students' name or students' teachers are? I believe, and I'm going to ask Kristen, I believe today is the day. My day is the 3rd of September and it should be released on Skyward. I'm getting nods from everybody, so you should be able to go to Skyward to find out your student's teacher so you can get that going. So as we move through this, please know that we are going to adjust and that we want you to communicate. We want you to work with parents. We want you to work with your principals as we move forward. You know, I hesitate as I close here, I hesitate to say that we're just going to get through this because that sounds like it's just something that we're holding our breath and just trying to get to the other end. I'd rather say that we're going to learn through this and our goal is to get to the other side and be a better system because of it. And I know that we will be a better system as we adjust and get to the other side. So I think we're exciting times that we're in. I think it's going to bring us together closer as a community and allow us to adjust and move on and educate all of our children through this system. So I'm just going to look for one quick last questions if there was. Okay, children are, if students are absent or sick, how can they still access their instruction? Let's say they can't get to it that day because they were sick. Is there some way to get to that instruction? Sean or Miriam, do you want to answer that? I think that might go in a little bit into the recording, but go ahead.
Sure. So there's going to be a variety of ways. Our teachers are using Canvas, and some of our teachers, K3, are using Seesaw, and that is going to be one of the key spots where what's happening in a classroom is going to be posted, both on the assignment side as well as opportunities when instruction is recorded and posted. Again, the posting of recordings isn't meant to replace the attendance at live instruction, but it is that direct instruction or modeling, and that will provide support. The other case is that if students just happen to miss the morning for a variety of reasons, an appointment or something else, and they just couldn't make it, they can come to the afternoon office hours to ask what was missed or questions about what they accessed through Canvas to understand better. And so there's going to be a couple different ways where they can access that and get caught up to speed.
All right, thank you. Miriam, there's a couple of questions about Canvas. One of the questions is, what's an LMS? An LMS is a learning management system, which is the online system we use for education. So Canvas is an LMS, Seesaw is an LMS. Miriam, why don't you go over Canvas just a little bit more of a reminder of when the training for Canvases are and for our families and when they can, where they can get to those trainings.
So next week, we are repeating our orientation for Seesaw and Canvas this week. So Tuesday and Wednesday this week, we did an orientation on Seesaw and Canvas. If you missed those sessions, you are welcome to attend next week's sessions. We're doing a repeat session on Seesaw on Tuesday and Canvas next Thursday. And if you still can't make it, not a problem. We post the recording of the presentations for both sessions. You can find it on the district's website, Family Education YouTube channel. But Tuesday for Seesaw next week, 6 p.m. until 7 p.m. Canvas on Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m.
All right, and thanks, Miriam. And again, any questions at all, well, work with your teachers now that you know their names. Work with your principals. They're there and ready to support you. Send us in emails. Our website, we continually update our website with all of these resources. Please rely on us. If there's anything we can do better or just let us know as we work through this system. Thank you very much again. We know that learning this fall is not the same what we're used to. We know there's going to be some hiccups, some issues along the way. We'll work through them with you. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you very much for entrusting us with the education of your children. And we are working hard to get them back in the buildings as soon as possible. Thank you and good night.